we're going to continue to work on building fretboard fluency as a major building block of improvisation and bluegrass. We're also using this analogy of our communication with our speech as a way to kind of understand that there's a lot of complex layers at work here, and we've discovered, how the major scale is kind of the primary informant at the root of all these layers. Generally, is the major scale of the key that we're in some form or fashion, and we're discovering kind of different variations of that scale potentially with minor pentatonic that give us different, different sounds really. How the minor pentatonic scale sounds versus a major pentatonic. Right, sort of different emotions, different vibes, and we want to be aware of that. This next layer that we want to look at, sort of, we call this adding attitude. That's, for me, these notes that we're going to think about here really kind of almost complete this idea that we started in the relative minor exercise 2, where we recognize that major and minor can kind of exist together. These attitude notes sort of work as chromaticisms to connect a lot of those major and minor choices that I'm going to make. And so again, just as we listen to how these things, how these notes kind of exist, as we listen to the one chord there in the key of G, again a major scale, the minor pentatonic scale, it's already given us a couple of these things, the flat third in G and the flat 7. The main one I want to add here is the flat 5, the D flat here. If you think about all the great playing from Tony Rice over the year, you're going to hear a lot of this flat 5, and a way to think about this is a minor pentatonic scale with that flat 5 in it. Gives that kind of sassiness to the note grouping there, and that's really useful. Again, we think about flair, attitude, back to our language kind of analogy here, kind of an accent or an angriness. When we're emphasizing and we're mad at something, we furrow our brow and get a little snarl, and these notes tend to do that with the lines that we play as improvisers. They can take what is potentially kind of a happy little line and give it a lot more attitude. Right? And so we really want to explore that. And again, this is part of our whole purpose here, is to not really, define all bluegrass soloing by this one note, but just recognize this as a potential layer that we can use or not use. And we're going to use these rhythm tracks as opportunities just to practice, really practice listening, practicing noticing what it feels like to kind of include these notes. And so a quick little sum up here. We've got major scale, minor pentatonic, and again that relative minor inclusion here as a layer, where like in this case G minor is related to B flat major for some options. And then we're adding this flat 5 for G. And what's also great is as a flat 5, I can use that in the C chord and the D chord. So the flat 5 as a really important layer with these attitude notes, along with that flat 3rd and flat 7, are really, again, like I said earlier, going to kind of complete this kind of bluegrass sound in my playing. So I'll give you an example of that here with our guide track in the key of G. 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1. So again, I'm using the whole fretboard. I want to encourage you to experiment. Maybe you start in the first position with more familiar chord and scale shapes, and maybe through the practice we kind of, you know, work further and further up the fretboard like I was doing here. One of the things I noticed improvising over this this chord structure is, again, it really makes me feel like I'm playing a bluegrass song. I feel really ready to jump into something, you know, like Big Mon or Little Maggie or something like that. It really, you know, gives me that sound that I'm looking for. But again, my point here is to recognize these layers at play. And the more we work on that, the more automatic that can feel for you. It won't happen immediately, but through lots of work, we can get there. So I'm going to give you one more example here in the key of D.
A 1 and 2